Dr. Eris Thorne had spent his life believing that books were the only things that stayed dead, their secrets safely interred in paper and glue. But as he stood before the heavy oak door marked "Restricted," a cold, copper-tasting wind whistled through the keyhole, and Eris felt a sudden, sickening prickle of intuition. He wasn't here to open a book. He was here to be read by one. The air grew heavy, smelling of wet earth and ancient iron-rich rot, and as the door creaked open to reveal a staircase plunging into an impossible throat-like darkness, the silence was broken by a sound that made his heart skip a beat, the slow, rhythmic thud of a colossal, unseen heart. He descended the spiral, his battery-powered lantern casting a frantic, wavering beam against walls that felt damp and strangely soft. At the bottom, he found a circular chamber where the shelves didn't just hold knowledge, they sagged under the weight of sentient torment. The bindings were translucent, veined and warm, stitched with thick thread that twitched like the legs of a dying insect. Black ink, thick as tar and twice as dark, wept from the spines and pooled across the floor in glistening slicks that crept toward him with predatory intent. Eris approached a massive tome that had fallen from a shelf, landing with a wet, fleshy thud. He knelt, the lantern light revealing not text, but a throbbing network of capillaries and raw nerve endings mapped across the pages. As he reached out, a chorus of 1,000 drowned voices erupted from the paper, a frantic, wet screaming that clawed at his mind. The shadows in the room suddenly detached themselves from the walls, rising like towers of liquid soot. He turned to flee, but his boots were already submerged in the ink, which had become a swarm of grasping, needle-thin fingers. In a final, horrific realization, Eris looked down to see the ink on the floor beginning to stitch itself into his own skin, carving new, pulsing letters into his flesh as his body began to flatten and fold. His lantern flickered and died, and as the darkness claimed him, the last thing Eris Thorne heard was the heavy snap of a book cover closing shut, forever binding his screams into the archive's growing collection.